Hey everybody, thanks for visiting again. We are the Contrarians. This is my first time actually not in the hot seat. I'm the moderator this time, and we've got Marco here who is going to pick the insane choice, the contrarian choice, the wrong album guaranteed choice for favorite Kiss album. This band right here, you might have heard of them. They wear makeup. So let's get into it. Let's find out what Marco is picking as the best Kiss album of all time, and why, more importantly.
So I'm going to be the punching bag for this episode. Let me start by saying I'm a huge Kiss fan. I have a Peter Criss tattoo right here,
Very
if
nice.
you can see it. I've been a Kiss fan my whole life. I saw them the first time when I was 10. I met Gene Simmons when I was 10 or 11. I met Peter Criss. I even saw Paul Stanley in the Phantom of the Opera when he was here in Toronto. So I'm a huge Kiss fan. And as a huge Kiss fan, I do think I have some authority in the matter. My favorite Kiss albums in general are the first three. I think the first three Kiss albums are the quintessential Kiss albums to get. And that's just, you put an exclamation mark on that when you look at Kiss Alive, which is probably their biggest selling album, or one of their biggest selling albums and one of their most famous albums. And it's only made up of those first three albums. To me, the first album is almost like a greatest hits. Every song off of that is great, minus maybe Kiss in Time, but even that song I like. But when we're talking about favorites and what I think is the best Kiss album, out of those top three, Dressed to Kill, Hotter Than Hell, and Kiss, my favorite is Hotter Than Hell. I think Hotter Than Hell has some of the coolest songs on it, just some of the coolest like guitar riffs, like jammy songs, like cool solos. Strange Ways probably has the coolest Ace solo out of any Kiss song out of all of their albums. I know the production gets lagged a little bit, but you know what? Like it sounds really raw, really cool. It sounds like Kiss. It almost sounds live in certain parts. And to me, those songs, you know, they just hit you one after another. I don't think there's a bad song on the whole album. I can't say the same thing about a lot of other Kiss Kiss albums in general, but that's kind of my feeling about it. What do you think?
Well, it's not a bad choice. I mean, it is a contrarian choice. The funny thing is, the production's a big thing that gets cited as a bit of a problem with that album. But I think with Kiss, the funny thing is, there's a whole bunch of albums that can all get argued as the second best Kiss album. But I think pretty unanimously, people go with Destroyer as the favorite Kiss album. I mean, think about it. It's after Kiss Alive, 1975. They're now superstars. They make this album. It's a super ambitious album. You know, you get to Love Gun and Rock and Roll Over. Actually, Rock and Roll Over first, also 1976. That's quite liked as well. Love Gun is quite liked. There's things later on that are quite liked. So depending on, you know, where you are generationally with Kiss, there's a lot of cool. That's the neat thing about this band, is that they're a whole 80s band, they're a whole 90s band, they're even a modern era band. And these are all different eras in the thing. So I mean, personally, I like Revenge a lot. I like Lick It Up a lot. And I like the latest two albums, which are very similar. They're of a pair, the Tommy Thayer era albums, right? But I think you're definitely in a contrarian place here with Kiss. Not that Hotter Than Hell isn't the choice of a lot of people as a great Kiss album, but Destroyer just seems, in my estimation, and knowing Kiss fans and being a Kiss fan, again, since my first big Kiss concert was a Ted Nugent Bebop Deluxe Rex concert, but the second one was Kiss and Cheap Trick on the tour that launched Alive 2. But basically, I think Destroyer is just way head and shoulders above everything else for reasons of Detroit Rock City, Shout It Out Loud, God of Thunder, King of the Nighttime World. It's the ambitious Kiss album. It's produced by Bob Ezrin. It's got a lot of bells and whistles and weird stuff and the creepy choirs and the car crash and all that stuff. It sounds good. It's varied. It's daring. So it's like Kiss. You know, Kiss is a band that gets slagged a lot for being not very ambitious or not very sophisticated, and Destroyer is the album that that quells those arguments. And it is the one that went double platinum, where a lot of other things, Hotter Than Hell is just gold. But But yeah, I can understand that point of view. I mean, what are a couple of your favorite songs on Hotter Than Hell? I mean, obviously the songs help it out, right?
Yeah, so like I said before, there's, to me, you know, like you mentioned Destroyer, and that album probably has more well-known songs than Hotter Than Hell, but Kiss is such a great band for having these like diamonds in the rough and these hidden gems. I think Hotter Than Hell is almost an entire album of hidden gems. Parasite is just an awesome song with a cool guitar riff. Hotter Than Hell, the lead track, is awesome. Going Blind is it's kind of like a weird, it's kind of like a ballad, but it's kind of really heavy. I think they get almost as heavy as they get in the 70s on Hotter Than Hell.
Yeah.
Especially with Strange Ways, which I already mentioned, which is an awesome Peter lyric. But it's interesting that you picked Destroyer. I know you also said Revenge is one of your favorites, so it sounds like you lean towards that Bob Ezrin style of producing because he also produced Revenge.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, and I don't even think of it as a Bob Ezrin type album. I just thought Revenge was that fits into a different category. That fits into the oh no, hair metal is not working very well. We have to do our Try Harder album. Right, so this is the Motley Crue go to Vancouver and try harder, the Bon Jovi try harder, the Aerosmith try harder when they get back together and they get sober, right? So to me, that's what's great about Revenge, because I really do not like, two of my least favorite Kiss albums are the two before that, which would be Hot in the Shave and Crazy Nights, right? So to me, you know, they just do everything right and they just make this great album that sounds amazing. It's probably their best sounding album. You know, in terms of comparisons to everything previous. But you're right, you know, you make a good point about Hotter Than Hell being probably the heaviest Kiss album until Creatures of the Night, right?
Right. I think so. But it's interesting also that you picked Destroyer, because in a lot of these episodes, you always, like, you have this kind of thing where, like, yeah, Paranoid might be the best, but I'm so sick of it. I've heard it so many times. Like, do you not feel the same way about Destroyer?
Yeah, although, you know, me being in this part, it's not so much. I'm like reacting to you in the hot seat situation. I actually would probably align with Destroyer as well. So you're right in a way, but first off, I'm being responsible in telling you what everybody picks, which I think is Destroyer. But you bring up a good point, because I actually would go with that as well. Hence, that's why I'm on this side of the mic and not on that side of the mic, right. Because I am not a contrarian when it comes to Kiss. Like, you know, our show is called The Contrarians, of course, but we need a true blue contrarian view, and that's why it's interesting to hear about Hotter Than Hell. But I would line up and be a completely non-contrarian on Kiss. I would pick Destroyer as well.
Right. Another thing that you brought up was production. I know Hotter Than Hell, like we already mentioned, always gets slagged for the production. But, like, I just have to say that, like, to me, it's the songs. Like, you could look at, like, Psycho Circus is probably head and tails well produced, way better than Hotter Than Hell. Probably cost way more money than to produce Psycho Circus. But to me, Psycho Circus is kind of trash. Yeah. Like, there's a couple of songs on it I don't mind. Yeah. But I mean, so in that sense, production doesn't really seem to matter if you don't have good songs.
Yeah, and you know what? The other thing about Hotter Than Hell, I don't think it should be slagged for its production. I think it has eccentric and strange production, but you need that in life. You know, you need that in these records once in a while. It's good to have odd production. And to me, it has odd production. The drums are very weird on that record. Kenny Kerner, Richie Wise, right? And they've done, it's, once you're into it, you forget about that, and you just go with it as this strange trip, this strange, murky, in a fishbowl kind of sound. But, you know, the first album's kind of bright and 70s and heavyish and almost like a little BTO-ish. Dress to Kill is always considered a little clean and neat and compressed and just not that heavy sounding production-wise. A little bit too high fidelity and missing the bottom end. But Hotter Than Hell has got a lot of bottom end. It's a pretty weird sound, and it makes those cool songs heavier. Right?
Yeah, and I think it kind of captures a unique style of Kiss, where it's kind of got that raw kind of live feeling. It's a little punkish at times. It's a little heavy at times. Mm-hmm. You can't say that it's commercial. You can't say it's the certain things that you can say about Destroyer. There's some cringy stuff on Destroyer. There's that one Jeans song that just kind of I just hate listening to. I can't even think about it right now.
Yeah, the Gene one.
Great Expectations drives me nuts that song's on that album.
And
I cannot stand that.
That's not great either, right? So.
I actually don't mind Beth as much, considering what it is. I love Peter Criss. I love his vocal. I actually kind of prefer the demo of Beth, where it's just kind of an acoustic guitar and a bongo. If you ever have the chance, check that out.
Cool.
But it's funny too what you mentioned about the first album being kind of brighter and more poppier, and the second album kind of being darker, because the first album was produced in New York and the second album was produced in LA. So it's almost like the opposite of where it's produced, because you would think New York is kind of more of like a dark kind of thing.
You're kind of winning me over, because really, it can't be the first album, I don't think. Although you really plumped hard for that first album. You think it's full of hits, and it kind of is. But it really can't be the first one. It definitely can't be Dressed to Kill. I don't think, I think everybody, when they look at the trinity that starts with Destroyer, Rock and Roll Over, Love Gun, nobody's going to pick Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun. Maybe Rock and Roll Over, but probably not. They're certainly not going to pick The Elder and Unmasked and those records, right? So it really does come down to probably between Hotter Than Hell, if you want to look at a classic era Kiss album, before they start second guessing themselves and being, okay, let's try heavy metal, let's try hair metal, let's do all these things later, and in the very end, Sonic Boom Monster, let's just try to be like we used to be.
Right.
So in the classic period, Hotter Than Hell has a lot of creativity to it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They were hungry. I think even with Destroyer, I think Bob Ezrin left such a big footprint that they could never fill again. And I think they were always kind of chasing that dragon, so to speak, because they even tried to bring him back a bunch of times. They tried to go for that, large sounding like production. And I think just Hotter Than Hell is Kiss to me when I think about Kiss. It's those first three albums, and especially that second album.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Although also the demo that they did with Eddie Kramer before the first album, I think is way better than the first album. And that's got like Black Diamond on it. And I think it even has one of the songs from Hotter Than Hell, Watching You, I think is on it. And it's got Strutter and Deuce and Cold Gin. And it's just, Eddie Kramer just did such a great job on that demo. But if we don't count demos, I think Hotter Than Hell, just my favorite. And I do think that when Destroyer came out, I think it alienated some of their hardcore fans, because they had like Beth, and they did go for more of like an arena rock, poppy kind of vein or area that they weren't trying to go for with those first three albums. I just feel like it's just more Kiss. It's more unique Kiss. It sounds different. It's got a lot of hidden gems on it. Like I said, I think Hotter Than Hell is my favorite album.
Yeah, cool.
And it wasn't even my first. And that's one of the things too, like we talk about nostalgia, like, oh, it's your first album. You always kind of hold it in high regard. I think my first album was Kiss Alive 3 and then Destroyer. But like you said before, I kind of get sick of Shout It Out Loud, Detroit Rock City, those songs that they play every single concert since that album came out. I would love it if they played more songs off of Hotter Than Hell, but that's, they're playing to the general fan, which is what Destroyer plays for. And when Destroyer came out, it seemed like they were reaching for, your grandmother and your grandkid, and they were kind of trying to get a wider audience, where I think, Hotter Than Hell really caters to that focused part of Kiss's audience that are really the hardcore fans. I think if you're a hardcore Kiss fan, it's Hotter Than Hell. If you're more of a general Kiss fan, it's probably Destroyer.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, it's definitely a lot of hardcore Kiss fans will pick Hotter Than Hell, and the other kind of fan that would pick Destroyer is the kind of fan that's a little bit snobby and thinks Kiss isn't very smart, right? So they're going to pick the smartest Kiss album, which is kind of interesting. So there you go. Our contrarian choice for Kiss comes from Marco, and it is Hotter Than Hell. Please feel free. We'd love to hear your comments on what you think of this choice, or what your favorite Kiss albums are. Don't forget to subscribe. Marco, we're in a couple other places as well, right? Instagram.
Right, so we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. Reach out. You can find us. We're not that hard to find, the Contrarians. And we would love it if you would like and subscribe and follow us on those other social media posts. We get all kinds of photos taken, behind the scenes stuff, albums. We ask questions like, what albums do you folks want to see? You can directly interact with us. Tell us where we missed the mark, where we hit the mark, and we will comment on all the comments that get posted in our YouTube videos and in our social media.
Very cool. Until next time, we shall see you later, and go listen to some Kiss.